Hello, I'm here with Christie Schweinsberg, the lead editor from Ward's Auto and, of course, the Ward's Intelligence alumnus. And she is here to discuss the Ward's 10 Best Interiors from the recent Auto Tech show in Detroit. Christie, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me, Edward. Great to be here.
So, the 10 Best Interiors are in, and over the past few years, how have you seen cockpit trends sort of affecting interior design?
Well, certainly we've seen an explosion of technology. So our awards are 10 Best Interiors and UX Awards. And this year we noticed several light color interiors. To our eyes, they looked white or ivory. If you look at the Monroney, the automakers say they're light beige or light gray, but they're very light in color. Important to note that we don't ever dictate a color of an interior. We just ask the automaker to please give us the interior that best represents their designer's intent or their UX engineer's intent. And this year, for whatever reason, we got a lot of sort of white ivory colored interiors. And, it's no secret that in-vehicle technology has exploded. The number of features, the number of offerings, the screens are bigger. There's more virtual controls than physical controls. And I think for a large part of the car buying population, that can be quite overwhelming. So our take was that, the lighter interiors balance sort of the aggressiveness and sometimes that overwhelming technology that you do encounter in vehicles today. So that lightness creates sort of a serene space, makes the cabin a bit quieter when, yes, all this technology is present.
Sure. And speaking of all that technology, I mean, screen sizes have exploded in recent years. Is there sort of, are automakers finding a balance from sort of having enough information out there and making use of the screen technology they have, also not overwhelming the driver?
Well, one trend we've seen with this year's competition and as well as last year is the move away from large vertical screens. Some of them, there are some still present. For instance, the EX90, the Volvo EX90, which was one of our winners, had a vertical screen. But Ford is shifting away from vertical toward horizontal, which we saw this year in the Expedition SUV, large SUV, which is one of our winners. They're still big, so this one is, I believe, 24 inches diagonally, but they're sort of short and long. And in the Expedition, they did something quite interesting in eliminating the head-up display, because they've placed that 24-inch diagonal screen behind the steering wheel, just forward of the windshield. Head-up displays can be quite costly technology for automakers to install in vehicles, and also if you're a consumer and you have a windshield chip, you don't get typical windshield glass. You have to have a special type of windshield glass, which can be quite expensive. So that's a very interesting new trend that we're looking at and seeing if that's going to proliferate in coming years. But also, as far as the infotainment systems, the menu organization, much improved. You're not hunting as much as you used to for, the most commonly used apps or features are usually front and center. Some automakers even allow you to reorganize the home screen and put what you want there. So if you're somebody who, maybe you drive Uber or Lyft and you have people that want to pair their phones in your vehicle to stream their music or whatever, you could put that phone app right on the home screen. So that's definitely a trend we've noticed, and I think probably born out of the omnipresence of Android Auto. And most of our winners this year had Android Auto operating systems.
Is there one particular trend that you think is especially important when looking at sort of auto technology and auto interiors?
I think just ease of use, a better user experience. For so many years, automakers tried, and I guess you could say failed at their own in-house, operating systems and, sort of infotainment system design. And, who knows customer experience better than Google? So I think this embrace of the Android operating system, it really benefits the consumer because it mirrors what they're used to with the user interface that they're used to with their smartphone, which isn't to say that all user interfaces of vehicles that have Android operating systems are the same. There is diversification. Certainly, if you look at the GM models on our list this year, which all had Android OS, and then you look at the Volvo EX90, which also did totally different appearance.
Right.
So, but as far as how to, the organizational aspect, it does mirror your smartphone experience.
Sure. I think there's a lot of sense in using commodity for that middle layer, and then just sort of differentiating on that top layer, the thing that customers actually access and work with, and having everything else more or less run to a standard. That makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely, yeah.
So apart from the ubiquity of Android and cream-colored or pale interiors, is there another trend that you sort of saw that cuts across all 10 of the winners?
I think within every cabin of our 10 winners, each had a unique decorative trim. For so many years, it was wood or fake wood, and they basically all look the same. There were sort of the carbon fiber years, real or fake carbon fiber. And now designers are really letting their hair down, really breaking out of the box, and we're seeing some pretty unique things. In one of our winners, the Buick Enclave Avenir, there was perforated, I believe it's faux leather, not real leather, but they had on the doors and the IP little holes, perforations. And at night, or if you were in a dark like parking garage, the ambient lighting system shone through those little perforations, which was very clever. In the Volvo EX90, there was backlit wood, so during the daytime it just looked like pale wood, and it is real wood. And then at night there was a sort of like a diagonal grid type design with an amber light. So it was a very thin veneer that allowed this light to shine through at night. Another one that springs to mind in the Cadillac Optique, they had fabric on the console, which was another trend we noticed this year. I know it's been a trend in Europe for many years in vehicles, but they had fabric on the center console, and then on top of that, they had a smoked acrylic top piece, like a cover, which probably didn't cost a whole heck of a lot. It's plastic, of course, but just very clever treatment of that area that, for so many years was kind of blah.
Sure. There's sort of human design touches going along with a very sort of computerized digital interior otherwise. I think that's a really interesting juxtaposition.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
Well, Christie, thank you so much for joining us today. Christie Schweinsberg, lead editor of Ward's Auto.
Thank you so much for having me, Edward. Great to see you.
Hi, I'm Christie Schweinsberg. I'm lead editor of Ward's Auto, and I'm also the manager for the 10 Best Interiors and UX program. And I'm sitting in the Volvo EX90, which is one of our 2025 Ward's 10 Best Interiors and UX winners. And technology-wise, we have an Android operating system here in the EX90. So Volvo is a longtime partner of Google, and that continues with this new 3-row all-electric crossover. So our 10 best judges noticed right away how much more user-friendly the Volvo infotainment system is now. The app tiles are much bigger, and the organization is more logical. Of course, we have Google Maps in here with the shortcuts for charging, restaurants, grocery stores, and coffee. Another thing we really loved about the software here in the EX90 was the onboard Google Assistant. She's very intelligent. If you request, say, a local coffee shop with multiple locations, the first location served up. If you reject that, she immediately serves up a second location. So that shows quite a sophistication and growth in these onboard voice assistants. This vehicle also has an incredible Bowers & Wilkins sound system that has some incredible audio, but there's also some video to go along with this. Showing the growth and the sophistication in in-vehicle displays. They're not. This isn't OLED, but it's almost that quality. It's the same quality as what you're used to in your living room with your television. So incredible graphics and resolution there on the Volvo EX90 display. This is the Kia K4. This is another of our 2025 Ward's 10 Best Interiors and UX winners. The K4, also one of our more affordable vehicles on the list, priced around $30,000 for this trim level. Kia is using Google Maps Platform Places API for the navigation function here in the K4, if I can pull that up. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like it's going to work, but you'll have to trust me that it's a great navigation system. There's also a very intelligent onboard voice assistant here in the K4. Like so many of the vehicles, so many of our winners this year, you barely get the words out before the reply comes, which is a change from prior years. Oh, this may work. Well, this is booting up. I'll just note we have two 12.3-inch displays here, one for the cluster screen and one for the main infotainment screen. And they're joined together by a 5-inch display for HVAC functions, but there's also some physical switchgear, of course, for HVAC functions. And as with all of our winners, the displays here in the K4 are crisp, clear, great color, great resolution. And Kia is noted for having some of the larger app tiles. There's that voice assistant. Some of the larger app tiles we encountered this year, which when you're driving, I think makes for a much easier much better user experience because there's more space and it makes mistaken selections less likely with these larger app tiles. Another thing we loved here about the K4 was the, if I can find it, the ambient lighting system. This may not be the exact same vehicle we had. Lights. Ambient lighting, here we go. So one thing we noted this year with ambient lighting systems, which are a decorative element here in many of our 10 best interiors and UX winners, are the sort of new range of colors available, some softer hues, and some vehicles even have groupings by autumnal colors, spring colors, winter colors. So there's, for most vehicles today, dozens of color selections now with the ambient lighting system. And like most of our 10 best interiors and UX winners for 2025, the K4 has ample USB-C ports. There's also wireless CarPlay and wireless Android Auto, a wireless phone charging pad, all the modern accoutrements you would expect in a vehicle of today. All right, this is the Cadillac Optique. This is another one of our 2025 Ward's 10 Best Interiors and UX winners. Like the Volvo EX90, this has an Android operating system, but as you can see, it's a very different user interface, showing the personalization that is possible. It doesn't all have to look the same. So here in the Cadillac, we have a 33-inch diagonal curved display screen. Very bright, very colorful, very crisp, and with some larger app tiles, which again make it easier to select the correct one when you're driving, when there's a little bit of bounce when you're moving in the vehicle. Again, Android operating system here, so we have Google Maps, we have Google News. This vehicle appears not to have it, but the one we tested back in the spring had Waze and Tidal. And I know that may seem quaint because, of course, our smartphones have those apps, but of course, in a vehicle, there's cybersecurity concerns, so there aren't as many apps available in a vehicle as there are on your smartphone. So that's a little bit of uniqueness we saw this year with this GM model in particular, is bringing some of those popular apps from the smartphone into the vehicle. This has a seat sensor, so there is no on button, but there is a virtual button here to turn the vehicle off. Again, has Google Assistant. Find the nearest Starbucks.
There's a Starbucks 8.1 miles away. Navigate to that one?
Yes, please. She may not be able to complete it because we're in a building, but you saw the fastness of the response from her, and we experienced that in virtually every vehicle we tested this year when we interacted with the voice assistant. This vehicle has 5G connectivity, which a lot of our other vehicles have as well. Very, very progressive vehicle here from Cadillac, this new all-electric crossover, the Cadillac Optique. This is the Ford Expedition Platinum. This is another one of our 2025 Ward's 10 Best Interiors and UX winners. Like the majority of our winners this year, this has an Android operating system. As you can see, we've got Google Maps, Play Store, Google Assistant. Again, that Google Assistant this year, really quick and accurate, very, very impressive onboard voice assistant. Apple CarPlay, Bluetooth, of course, Amazon Alexa, Sirius XM. There's also, through subscription with this vehicle, streaming services such as Amazon Prime, Peacock, and Max, because we have a rear seat entertainment system here for the kids. When there's a road trip, you can queue up some movies. One thing I wanted to note, and we're noticing is becoming a new trend, is the movement away from vertical touch screens, and also, in this might be a trend of one right now, but movement away from a head-up display. So because we have the 24-inch screen back here on the instrument, at the top of the instrument panel, Ford deleted the HUD. HUDs are expensive to include in a vehicle for an automaker, and then they're expensive for the end consumer. If there's an issue where you get a cracked windshield and you need to replace the windshield glass, it can be 2 or 3 times as much as regular windshield glass. So putting this screen to the back here kind of puts it in the same area that the HUD would be, and puts a lot of information front and center for the driver. And then this lower screen here, this 13.2-inch display, is kind of the control panel for this screen here. So you can move around some of these features. It's doing it in the center portion here, which you can't see because we do have the doors open for recording. But it's a new way of thinking about displays, certainly here from Ford and the Expedition Platinum.